Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from podweather.com and IPR365.com. And I have to tell you, it was really difficult to decide which of our two main storms deserve top billing for this video update. On the one hand, we have Hannah here, which is sitting near the Bahamas, which will make landfall tomorrow along the Carolina coastline. And it could be as strong as maybe a minimal hurricane. On the other hand, we have a very dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Ike, which by the weekend and early next week could be plowing its way through the Bahamas towards the U.S. as a major hurricane. I felt it prudent that Ike get top billing because within 36 to 48 hours, Ike is going to be the main story for sure. But we'll start with Hannah because there are watches and warnings out. As of 5 p.m., Hannah was at 25.5 north, 75.0 west. Winds were 65 miles per hour, gusting to 75. It was moving northwest at 13. This is expected to accelerate, and it was 988 millibars. And again, by Friday, tomorrow night, and Saturday morning, it should be making landfall probably in North Carolina, and then by Saturday night, heading up through New Jersey and then up and out, and not even being an issue by early next week. Now, we do have those watches and warnings out, hurricane watches, of course, along the Carolina coastline with the potential that this becomes a hurricane, but right now it's actually forecast not to make hurricane strength. Again, tropical storm watches and warnings all the way from the mid-central Florida coast all the way up to near New Jersey, so we do have a large area here under the gun because of Tropical Storm Hannah. Again, you can see it's not all that impressive on the IR, and again, it's showing pretty skimpy convection, although it does have a large circulation around it that is spinning around there. And here's one reason why it's so weak. It has all of this dry air. Note this brown-colored air here. This is all pushing into the circulation, and you need this blue-white moisture here to help it fire up. And so with that dry air pumping in, Hannah is just having a difficult time intensifying. And you can see that even better here. We have a very, very big push of dry air weakening the system, or at least keeping it from strengthening as much as it looked like a few days ago it could do. Again, Hannah at one point was a hurricane, but it might not ever achieve that again. And with these models, anywhere from South Carolina to the Outer Banks look most at risk. Right in the middle there, probably Cape Fear, Wilmington, that whole region south of the Outer Banks, but to the north of the South Carolina-North Carolina border appear to be the general areas where landfall will take place. Now, again, there's Hannah on the screen to your left, and here's Hurricane Ike. Okay, now Hurricane Ike, you can see it moving on the screen there. It's looking very, very impressive. It is an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane. As of 5 p.m., it was at 23.6 north, 58.2 west. Winds were down a bit to 135 miles per hour, gusting to 160. That's Category 5 force. It had been up to 145 miles per hour earlier this morning. It's moving west-northwest at 13, and again, the track motion with this is very, very important. And that pressure is now up to 945 millibars. It had been estimated to be as low as 935. And if you go by pressure yesterday and this morning, Ike was the strongest hurricane we have seen so far this hurricane season. Again, the motion here should continue to the west-northwest, but quickly bend west and weaken. There should be some wind shear, so it could weaken even as low as a Cat 2 hurricane. Some models show even a Category 1. By Saturday, it should start to move west-southwest and continue that until Sunday because we're going to have this building high pressure, and that's part of what is pushing Hannah right up and around, but it's going to push Ike down towards the southwest. Now, Ike should start to re-strengthen by Saturday night and Sunday as the waters get warmer, although it may run into some upwelling from Hannah. And by the time Sunday night, Monday, and Tuesday rolls around, Ike could be plowing its way through most of the Bahamas as a very dangerous major hurricane. Now, there is a lot of uncertainty as to how strong the ridging will be. If the ridging is very strong, Ike could take the south edge of this cone and get caught up over Cuba and Haiti and even head towards the Florida Keys or the Gulf. If the ridging's weak, then it might just kind of bend right back up to the north towards the Carolinas. The expectation right now is that it'll be moving west-southwest long enough that by the time it does start to round the ridge, it will be dangerously close to southeast Florida. Again, there is the visible as the sun goes down. Very, very impressive satellite imagery. And looking at the visible loop from the Hurricane Center website, again, look at that eye. A very, very intense major hurricane right at the end there. It's right around the eye here, the eye wall, where those winds are at 135 miles per hour. And again, it looks like it's way out there, but note where it is. It's approaching 24 degrees north latitude, okay? 25 degrees north is the latitude of Miami. So right here is the latitude of Miami, Florida. And Ike is right here. So even though it looks like it's way far out there, Ike is a lot closer than we think as far as the latitude is concerned. Again, it's actually, as the Hurricane Center mentioned, shrunk a bit in size, and it has that well-defined eye and not a lot of outer bands, so it's focusing a lot of its energy on itself, and that motion should start to bend more to the west-southwest. But again, it could have that shear impacting it, and it could weaken pretty significantly over the next 24 hours, but come right back up. Here's the model guidance with it. And again, the models yesterday were starting to show, hey, maybe this thing will start to hook north before it even really gets into the Bahamas. Well, today, the Canadian has shifted further west, the UK Met has shifted further west, and the GFDL and HWRF have shifted further west, and a few of them even have it making landfall in South Florida. The GFDL model in 5 days has it, after raking the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands as a Category 4 or 5, striking Cuba as a Cat 4, and then leaving Cuba heading towards the Florida Straits as a Category 2 or 3 hurricane. The HWRF model has it making totally just devastating the Bahamas, moving through almost all of them as a Category 4 or 5, and then making landfall right as a Category 4 borderline 5 hurricane in southeast Florida in 5 to 6 days. That'd be very, very bad news. The Canadian takes it much further south and has it down here over eastern Cuba in 120 hours. And then the NOGAPS takes it very close to South Florida and then just jaunts it off the coastline at the last minute in 5 and 6 days and starts to move it over the Abaco Islands. Now again, the water forecast, it will have very, very warm waters. There is going to be some upwelling from Hannah, but how much of that impacts the system is yet to be seen. And once it moves even closer to Florida, if that is the track it takes, it will have the Gulf Stream waters and the very hot content around the Bahamas. Again, upper level winds, you can see there is a large anticyclone high pressure. That's actually helping push some of that dry air right into the Hannah circulation. On the other hand, it's also helping to push some of that wind shear onto Ike, which is why we've seen it weaken. As the high builds, Ike again should push to the west-southwest. Did want to mention Josephine as of 5 p.m. It was at 14.6 north, 33.2 west, been weakening down to 45 miles per hour, gusting to 55. It's moving west-northwest at 10, 1,002 millibars. Josephine could start to kind of bend back west, but it will be far out there. Whether it ever makes it to land is way too soon to say. Right now, Josephine is not looking all that good. It's got very skimpy convection, and you might think, wow, you know, here's the circulation here. Well, look at the visible. You could clearly see the circulation of Josephine is down here. So it looks like it's up here, but it's actually down here, and is spinning along very ill-organized. That big tropical wave that left is looking pretty skimpy, and there's nothing much over Africa, but again, in about a week or so, we could see another storm come off of it. Again, the final analysis, we have Hannah in here, which is going to strike the Carolina coastline as a strong tropical storm. It's going to pack a wallop as it moves up and around the ridge of high pressure, which is built in here. As far as Ike, that's going to get pushed to the southwest and then back to the west. And just how the high pressure builds in will be critical. If the high builds in like this, then Ike could push southwesterly and then go right into southeast Florida. If, however, the high is built more like that, Ike could push southwestward and then pop up and head to the north. A lot of uncertainty with that, but again, a very dangerous hurricane, especially for the Turks, Caicos, Bahamas, and southeast Florida at this point. You guys need to be watching it carefully. Tropical wave down here shouldn't do much, and then Josephine moving onto screen that we'll continue to monitor. That'll do it this time for the Tropical Update. I'm Mike Naso. Stay tuned to IPR365.com and podweather.com.